Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Glen Kuiper Show on what is a Tuesday afternoon in rainy, as we said last night, rainy Bay Area, beautiful down in Scottsdale, Arizona. We got a very special guest we're going to talk Giants baseball with in just a moment. But as always, before that, we have to check in with our sponsors, starting with Partners Capital, LLC, a wealth management firm providing financial strategies for elite performance and lasting peace of mind. Partners Capital, call them at 888-702-7743. The Glen Kuiper Show also brought to you by Tilden Properties. By investing in California's multifamily real estate with Tilden Properties, you'll see quarterly dividends and equity buildup in the real estate market. Call Tilden Properties today, 925-209-8558. Show is also brought to you in part by the Carrick Real Estate Team. Whether you're getting ready to sell your home or you're looking to make a purchase of a new home, the Carrick Real Estate Team is the group to guide you home. Call them for more information at 925-548-4132. And we're also brought to you in part by Area Rug Cleaning Direct. If your area rug needs professional cleaning or repair, Area Rug Cleaning Direct will pick up and return your area rug looking brand new within 5 business days. 925-933-9998. All right, time now to bring in our special guest, and we really do appreciate him stopping by. He's the president of baseball operations for your San Francisco Giants, Buster Posey. Buster, how are you? Appreciate you stopping by, man. Thank you.
Doing well, Glenn. Yeah, glad to do it. As you mentioned, we've got some nice weather here, but we'll also take some rain in the Bay Area. That way we can hopefully avoid that dreaded drought word that tends to pop up when we don't get enough. So we'll take some rain.
Well, it is dumping. It has been dumping for 2 days, and people are having trouble getting up to Tahoe. So, yeah, so your weather is a lot better than ours. So week 2, spring training. Did you enjoy spring training as a player, Buster?
I did, yeah. For me, Kristen and I had kids pretty young, so our kids were with us every spring training. I guess the first couple, they weren't born, but it was a fun time of year. Obviously, there's just a lot of excitement around, and the optimism around camp's great. Fresh start, clean slate, individually and for the team, and also personally, it was kind of like a normal job. You go in and you work from get there at 8 or whatever, and maybe your day's done at 1, maybe it's done at 4 or 5, depending on your schedule. But then you had an opportunity to go and either cook at home or take the kids out to eat. So, yeah, we always enjoyed it.
Yeah. Do you enjoy it as much as an executive? Because obviously it's a whole different ball game, no pun intended.
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's obviously very different. I don't have to worry about beating myself up physically. I can beat myself up in my brain now. But no, it's fun. I mean, you get a chance to look at a closer look for us at some internal players that you spend a lot of time watching video on, and get to see them in person and see how they interact with their teammates, see how they move around the field, on the mound, in the batter's box. So yeah, it's good. And starting games up here in another 4 days, I guess. It's here. The games are here. It seems like they come faster every year.
Hey, Buster, when you drive to the ballpark in the morning, are you thinking about the list of things that you have to do, or are you thinking about players and what you may be looking forward to seeing from individual guys that day?
I think it's a combination. I mean, just like anything else, there's going to be certain days where there are more boxes to check off and meetings to attend, and trying to make sure ducks are in a row. And we've got a great team in the front office that really takes a lot of those semantics off of my plate. And a lot of times I go where I'm told, and not necessarily having to worry about the scheduling piece too much for myself. And then for sure with the players, depending on what's going on for the day, there's probably a few that I'll highlight. Like, I really want to make sure I get to see this guy. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just a bullpen. Maybe it is a live batting practice. Maybe it's some infield work or first and third place. So always an opportunity to try to learn something about your guys, and you never know if something's going to stand out in your mind, good or bad sometimes.
And Buster, things pop up, and something popped up yesterday with the manager, which I thought has gotten absolutely, completely blown out of proportion. And, it seems a little unfair, but anyways, it did happen. I'm sure you've gotten asked about it. I have to ask you about it. I mean, what did you think about all this? To me, it just seemed like, maybe this was on his mind for a while and he just wanted to maybe get it out or maybe clarify some things. And now all of a sudden, he's being questioned on whether he really wants to be here in San Francisco. To me, I think that's very unfair.
I mean, I probably see it similarly to you. I honestly haven't thought much about it. I didn't.
Good for you.
I heard about it from one of our reporters, and I had to ask him 3 times. I'm like, "What?" I said, "Wait, why are we talking about this?" But I've gotten to know Tony more and more. Continue to get to know him, and he's there's no question in my mind. I'm extremely confident in him, the person he is, and his dedication to the team. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think people are bored this time of year too, without any games going on.
Yeah, I think you may be right, but there's stuff being said here, and it's very strange to me. But do you feel the need, and maybe not feel the need, but do you like to check in with him on a daily basis? Because listen, you guys are connected in a certain way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that I feel the need that we need to have a set time to sit down and hash things out. It's more just does it happen naturally? Maybe it's out on the field. Maybe it's after a workout popping into his office. Maybe it's before a workout. And I think that's best. I mean, there's already enough meetings that he's having to either lead or attend, and kind of the same for me. And so I think that relationship, in my opinion, is going to be best developed just through natural interactions and as various things come up through the day.
And Buster, when you took your job, I mean, you were new at it and you surrounded yourself with a lot of people that seemed like you were confident in, that you knew, that you could go to. And the same thing has somewhat happened with Tony with his coaching staff. Any similarities there?
I think so. I mean, Tony was very diligent when it came to building his staff. He told me last night he spent some time on the phone with Boch. He's got Dusty also in his corner, obviously with Ron Washington on staff, former manager Jace Tingler. So he's got a good group around him, and I do think part of what makes him a good leader, from what I can tell already, is he's not going to be afraid to ask questions. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if he believes strongly in something, he's going to hold his ground on it as well. So there's an element to him being malleable, but there are going to be certain things that he's going to stick to his guns just because through his own experience he believes in those things. And I think it's a good balance from what I can tell so far.
Buster, as a player, what did you want to see most from your manager?
Oh man, I think as much as anything, you just want to know that they're in the fight with you, and that they've got your back through thick and thin. It's easy to be on a player's side when things are going great. I think the real test comes out if the team's playing poorly, or if you yourself are playing poorly. Does it feel like the interaction is different with your manager? And obviously, me having Bruce Bochy for the majority of my career, I got to experience the good of that. Even going back to college with Mike Martin at Florida State. So consistency, I think, builds trust. And when you get that trust and guys feel like you do have their best interest at heart, I think that's when you start to see players that'll really run through a wall for a manager.
Yeah. Buster, in watching you guys this offseason, kind of how you went about things, just talk to people about it. And I had some theories, and I'm curious to see how accurate I am. It seemed like you guys showed a lot of confidence in your young starting pitchers. We know the group, these guys, they've all pitched in the big leagues a little bit. But it just struck me like you feel like this group has a chance to be very important this year and into the future. Am I close on that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think regardless of We do believe that. I think I got to live it as a player. Recipe for success is you're going to have pitchers in your system that contribute in a big way. I mean, easy example to point to is the Blue Jays from last year and what they got out of Savage
Yeah.
down the stretch and in the playoffs. Probably were not banking on him playing as key a role as he did. And I think it's going to be a big part of our success. You know, the Wisenhunts, the Seymours, Tidwell, McDonald, Birdie, all these guys at some point are going to have an opportunity to really grab the bull by the horns and prove that they belong in the big leagues. And sometimes that happens faster for some guys and slower for other guys. And there's a level of patience, but I do think, again, if I put my player's hat on, you have to understand, and this isn't to like add pressure to somebody. It's just the reality of it. It's when you get the opportunity, you need to seize that opportunity. And being a big leaguer is not easy, right? And I think that's one of the more challenging parts is establishing yourself and maybe even like gaining that belief internally for yourself that I am somebody that can be here and not only just hang here, that I can really go and help a team win a lot of games.
Another thing that popped into my head too, Buster, is that there's a chance for some players to have internal improvement. Guys like Ramos and Lee, you can see that there's another level there, I think, for those guys. Now, we don't know if they're going to get there or not, but there's no reason why they can't go to the next level. And you know, banking on that, you got to be careful with that, but you also have to know the players that you're hoping for this to happen. And I sense that you guys feel that there are some guys in this lineup or pitchers that they have another level that they could get to.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, we do. We believe that, and you hope there's certain attributes that you can point to and say, if they do X, Y, and Z, they are going to be better. Because, just sitting back and hoping somebody's going to be better is not a great plan. And it's something that we've talked about with our coaching staff a lot. And one thing that Ron Washington keeps saying as he's working with the infielders is he'll say they want it. He's like, they want it. And, you mentioned Ramos, you mentioned Jung Hoo. Those guys have maybe, I'm not even sure, some of them probably publicly, but I know just within our group expressed, their desire to improve defensively and really in all facets of the game. And that's obviously where you've got to start. Number one, you've got to have those guys willing to maybe make some changes to improve themselves as ball players. And all signs point to that's what they want to do.
And I mean, the last thing really started, when you took over, and it has to do with the minor league system, which is getting better. I mean, when you look at the rankings of minor league systems, the Giants are moving up. I think that's going to continue. And it just seems like, Buster, if you're going to compete in the National League West with the Dodgers, financially it's going to be difficult to do. That's just the way it is. But you can compete with them with a minor league system. And that seems to be maybe the way that you guys have to go, because what's better than young talent, right? It's talent, it's cost effective, it's easier to make trades if you have young talent, and it all sort of comes together if you have a great minor league system. And do you feel like you guys are headed in that direction? Because it certainly seems like you are.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think we're moving in a positive direction. I'm a big believer that talent that breeds more talent, because now you create that own family, if you will, of competition, and you start to stack up some shortstops or catchers or center fielders, and they're looking around at each other as much as they're competing against the other team. Those guys are, whether they admit it or not, they're competing with one another and they're pushing one another. So there's no question that there's very few teams out there, I think, that are going to say, probably no teams are going to say that their minor league system is not extremely important for all the reasons that you laid out. And yeah, we've got some exciting young players. I mean, got a peek at Eldridge last year. We, with Joshua signing him the year before, the shortstop, Luis Hernandez this year. Felt like Michael Holmes and his group did a great job adding some interesting talent in the draft. Parks Harbor is a guy who we're getting a look at in camp this year, was part of the Doval trade. He can really, really swing the bat. Bo Davidson, it's batting practice, but it's pretty special to watch how fast he moves through the zone. So, yeah, I mean, it's one of the better things about our sport, I think, compared to other sports, is that the fans do have a chance to learn about these guys before they make it up. And I think it adds a level of excitement when your homegrown guy comes up and contributes to the team.
Buster, you did make some what sounded like fairly strong efforts to make some trades this year, this offseason. Was there a time where you thought you had a deal done and it just fell through? Or how close did you get to making some of these deals that we all were reading about?
It's hard to say. That's one of the things I've learned in this first year and a half, is you don't really know until the dotted line is signed. So it's hard to say how close we were. We were pretty in depth on a couple of different conversations, and you don't know. I mean, you don't, unless it goes through, and unless we could ask the other party, like, how close was this really? It's hard to say. So it's an interesting dance, I guess, if you will, because everybody's going to have their own opinions. Like, of course, people can look at a computer and look at what surplus values might be, or pitch grades might be, or foot speed, or whatever metric you want to look at.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like, the human element's still going to come in, and we might have a group of players that another team is looking at that they might value higher than the next team that's looking at
Sure.
them, and we'll do the same thing. So a lot of things have to line up, I think, unless you're really just willing to extremely overpay. And I do think we're a group that if we like somebody, we don't have to win the deal. That's not our mindset. We don't have to feel like we go in, and if whatever the baseball group is out there that tweets about the trades, whether they won or lost the trade, like, that's not our goal. Our goal is to get great players and put a great team on the field that's exciting to watch. But yeah, there's a lot more that goes into it. It's not just a simple, and I do think from what I've heard from people that were doing these type of transactions 15, 20, 25 years ago, it was a little bit more simple then. It was a little bit more sit down, let's have a beer or something and hash this thing out.
What's more, I don't know, maybe frustrating is not the right word, but what can be more challenging, dealing with an agent or dealing with a potential trade partner?
I mean, I think it's like any other human interaction. It just depends on the person. I don't think I would probably bucket one group into one area and then the other and then another. I think it just depends on the person. And as much as anything, again, like a lot of relationships, you're hoping to build trust. You're hoping that people realize that what you say actually does matter. Like, if I encounter somebody in this line of work and they say one thing and then they turn around and they're doing something different, I mean, that's a pretty big strike for me.
Yeah.
So as much as anything, we want to try to stick true to our word, be honest with people. And I certainly know it's not going to always be reciprocated, but it's the way I want to do business.
But all in all, this team that you put together, I mean, I like it. I mean, I think it's a pretty, solid lineup. The rotation with the young guy depth, question marks with the bullpen. But what do you like most about this team, and where is your biggest concern?
Well, yeah, you look at the lineup, you feel pretty good. You feel like it's a pretty lengthened out lineup, I would say. Adding a guy like Arraez helps, gives us some balance with some more contact. I do think we're going to see a better version offensively of Patrick Bailey. We've already kind of talked about Ramos and lead defensively. Starting pitching, it's hard not to be excited about Logan Webb leading the charge. Robbie Raves looks great shape. Landon Roop, I think, with the more reps that he's got, he's continued to grow in his confidence, get better and better. And then Hauser and Molly. Hauser was, pretty adamant that he feels like he's made some tweaks that are going to carry over and continue to be successful. And then Molly, I mean, if Molly is able to stay healthy, and it seems like, by all accounts, talking to him, he's in a really good place. He's got a chance to be a big addition for us. And then, the bullpen, I don't know if I'd even say it's a concern. I mean, there's question marks for sure. Tony's talked about it too. I mean, I'm a big believer in competition as well. I mean, if I'm a bullpen guy vying for a spot on our roster right now, I'd be licking my chops, because there's a chance every time you go out in spring training to prove why you should be looked at harder to fill a role in the bullpen. And I think bullpens can be volatile both ways, good and bad. Sometimes when you think you got something figured out, all it takes sometimes in a bullpen is one or two guys change a little bit, or maybe they lose something here or there, and then you're kind of looking around like, maybe I didn't have what I thought. And I think it can work on the flip side as well, is you get a pleasant surprise or two, and you feel like you're in a really good spot.
I want to ask you about Arraez. And I've been kind of pounding my chest on this thing with Arraez. I feel like, Buster, when you get a guy who's 20 years old, right in the middle of his career, who's got a pretty good resume, but maybe he was told a little bit this winter that teams don't think as much of him as he would like teams to think because of this defensive thing. So my thought with him has been like, I don't think you should ever sleep on a motivated big leaguer that's in the middle of his career, right? I mean, and I said this last night on my show. Yeah, you could be a 36-year-old player who's motivated to get better, but Father Time may have something to say about that. But if you get a guy like Arraez, who's 28 years old, right in the middle, and he becomes motivated to become a better all-around player, and he's willing to work at it, which you're seeing firsthand, to me, that's a dangerous player. And I say dangerous in a good way. And I could see that with Luis Arraez, because maybe he didn't like what he saw with contracts being offered this year. Well, now I'm going to show these people. And that may turn out to be a big thing for the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I mean, watching him this last week or so, I mean, he's hungry. He really is. And you're talking about a guy, as you mentioned, in his prime, but he has won 3 batting titles already as well, by age 28 season. But he is hungry. I think there is a little bit of a chip on his shoulder right now. He was probably, I don't know, I'm guessing he was probably told by a lot of teams, like, no, like we don't see you playing second base. Or if we do, maybe it's not a number that was very appealing to them. And I go back to Tony and building out his staff, and he kept bringing wash up.
Yeah.
And it's a great addition, regardless if you need infielders if you have infielders that are going to need work. But for us, it's just a complete slam dunk with Rafael Devers at first base. Still learning that position. Luis Arraez, you've got Matt Chapman at third, who's worked with Wash since he was however old with the A's, and then Adames at short. And Wash has the credibility and the demeanor about him that he demands the work, but he does it in a way, and him, he does it in a way that's not off-putting. It almost is like, it doesn't matter if you're a 10-year vet, if you're a rookie, he's going to get the same work out of you. And it's been cool to watch. Yeah,
I know. I witnessed it with Marcus Semien, and it was amazing. So I try to tell people it's the real deal. I mean, the Ron Washington hype is the real deal. You mentioned Devers, and he's the other guy I wanted to ask you about, because I'm kind of bullish on Devers this year. I could see him having a monster year. He's going to be fine at first base. But I think it's hard to explain to fans too, Buster, how difficult a transition can be for a guy who, since he was 16 years old in the same organization, and then you get traded middle of the season to a different league, to a different coast. There's a lot of changes that happen. If you come in much more comfortable, which I would imagine Devers is, I think the sky's the limit for him this season. I could see this guy having a monster year.
I agree. I mean, for all the reasons that you just mentioned as well. I mean, I was fortunate I didn't experience what that's like to be traded away from a team. I think one of the best decisions that I made or my agent helped me make was a no trade clause, and then I had the certainty of being in one spot and I could raise my family in one spot. But you're right, it's a lot. It's a lot. There's a lot of attention. He had extra attention on him coming in last year because of all the stuff that was that had happened leading up to the trade. Just watching him this spring, I mean, he seems light on his feet, and I don't mean that in a literal sense. Which he is moving around great, but light on his feet. There's smiles, there's the work that he's putting in. It looks like he's enjoying himself. There's an extra level of comfort with the players that he got to spend the last few months with. So, I mean, he is undoubtedly one of the most talented hitters on the face of the planet. And what I learned, and I didn't really know as much until we got him, is extremely smart hitter as well. Physically gifted, but extremely smart hitter, and goes up there with a thought and a plan. And I mean, I'm with you. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
And Buster, I've always wanted to ask you guys this, because I know you said when there's a free agent that you like, or a trade, or some type of transaction, there's obviously financial ramifications, and you go to the ownership group and you say, hey, we like this guy, and this is what we offered, or whatever. But when you go to the ownership group last June and say, we have a chance to get Rafi Devers, here's the financial commitment, that's a little bit different than a 1-year $10 million deal. And I'm just curious, how did that conversation go? How much of that can you tell me? Because, you're talking $300 million contract, and, that's not just a snap of the fingers there. But I've always kind of wanted to ask you that.
Yeah, I mean, how do you approach that? I mean, luckily, I think I have a good relationship with the ownership group, with Greg Johnson, and I think some of it, again, like we talked about relationships, you start to build trust with people, and I certainly trust them. I feel like it's the same way with me. And for Greg and the rest of the ownership group, they just want a case presented to them that they can wrap their heads around and say,
Sure.
okay, like, yeah, I can buy this. I can see why it would make sense. And adding a guy like Devers, middle of the order bat, we've had a hard time on the free agent route attracting those type of hitters to San Francisco. So it's a unique opportunity for us to get him to make that trade. But to Greg and the rest of the ownership's group's credit, they got on board with it pretty quick, and were very supportive.
You mentioned free agency, and it just seems like the world of free agents, it's changing. Is there 10-year deals out there anymore? I don't know. I mean, we saw some 3 years ago, we saw some a couple years ago, but then this year, and even last year, these shorter deals, higher average annual value, we're starting to see more of that. Is that a trend that is here to stay, Buster? Maybe no more 8, 9, 10-year deals, but more of these shorter deals, more money per year, opt-outs, which are certainly not great for the teams. They're great for the players. But is this a new trend in free agency? What do you think?
I don't know. I think it remains to be seen. I mean, I'm sure there'll be some trends that happen after the next CBA is negotiated and finalized. So it's hard to say. I think the one that sticks out to me, maybe more so than the short-term high AAVs, is you're even seeing deferrals and one-year deals now. And that's the part that's a little bit interesting to me is like, is that going to be something that's going forward going to be continued allowed to continue to defer money at the rate that some of these contracts are being deferred?
Yeah.
So that I think that one's probably caught my eye as much as anything.
Buster, final question. Are you ready for the ABS challenge system? Are you a yes or a no on this?
I'm a yes. Ultimately, I got to see it in spring training, and then AAA's done the past couple of years. I'm all for. Ultimately, we're all doing this for entertainment purposes, and I do think it adds a level of entertainment for the fans. It's something else that I'm sure all the stat heads out there are going to be able to put some sort of metric on it and say this team's been, their challenges have added an extra 4 runs saved or produced an extra 5 runs or whatever it is. So something else to talk about. I think Major League umpires are incredibly, incredibly talented. They've only gotten better, and it'll be interesting to see which catchers. Obviously, to me, catchers are going to be the most important as far as being able to get pitches right. Which ones are good at it, and then there's going to be some strategy on the team's part, trying to say, you get 2 challenges. Once you burn them, they're gone. And if you're not certain in the first inning, you better hold on to it. And I was talking to Paul Bien, our assistant GM and VP of analytics, and I'm curious. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm curious. I'm sure there's some way to crunch the numbers and say these certain situations are the highest leverage situations of the game that might impact the outcome more than any other time. What are they? And we need to know those first of all, because those are the ones that we got to make sure we get right.
How much have you guys talked about it? Because really, I mean, you have to have some type of strategy as an organization, I would guess. Is it individual players? I mean, that to me is, you got to be careful with that one. But, like you just mentioned, high leverage situations. But I mean, heck, you could have every team with some different type of strategy here.
Yeah, we've talked about it a fair amount. And then even in live BP now, the hitters are able to look. I'm not sure that the real kicker is the height, because they're going to be measured. And so right now you can get the edges right, but until they're measured and we have that data to input in the system, you can't really know the bottom and the top based on the measurements. We can kind of guess, but obviously fraction of an inch could be a ball or a strike. So you need to be completely accurate on that. But yeah, you're right. I'm sure teams will have different strategies. Undoubtedly, we're going to see, hopefully it's not us, but it probably will be, because I think every team's going to see it. You're going to see a player get really emotional. They think they're right about a pitch, a hitter, and they're going to get it wrong. And there'll be a learning curve. But again, I think back to, like, from a fan's perspective, I think it'll be something fun for the fans.
Yeah. And I know you've seen these numbers, but I found them to be somewhat fascinating from the spring training games last year, where the catcher had the best success rate of 56%. Hitters were 50%. Pitchers were 41%. Now, again, I mean, it's 288 games. That's a legitimate sample size.
Yep.
I was not necessarily surprised, but I think the catcher would have the best feel for a strike, because he may be the least emotional of the 3. Does that make sense?
I think that's right. I mean, also, I think it's just sheer volume. As a catcher, you're seeing way more pitches than anybody else. You're going to have a better feel for the zone, probably. Pitchers, man, you just got to, I don't know with pitchers. You got to take as much off of their plate as you can. There's a few out there that can handle it. But
yeah. But I thought it was an interesting stat. So we'll see. But hey, Buster, thanks for joining us. We touched on a whole bunch of different things, which I wanted to do with you, but I know you're a busy man, and I really appreciate you joining the Glen Kuiper Show. I mean that a lot. So I'll see you in about a week and a half. I'll be down.
Sounds great. Enjoyed it, Glenn.
All right. Thanks, Buster. Appreciate it. So Buster Posey, the president of baseball operations for the San Francisco Giants, kind enough to give us 35 minutes of his time. I know he had a meeting before us. He's probably got meetings after us, but he's a good man. He's a good man, and we really do appreciate him stopping by. Before we have a whole bunch of comments, and we just didn't have enough time. We wanted to talk to Buster about certain things, and so it would have been hard to get some of the comments and questions in. I hope I hope the folks understand that. But what we are going to do is I'm just going to run through these. Got a super chat from my man Danny Boy. He's got his own Giant show, and he's terrific. Buster, in 2019, you did a video for my mom who was dying, unfortunately, of cancer, and you made her day, saying you were praying for her. Thank you. My lab is named Buster. That's great. And I lost my dad in 2019, so Dan, I know how you feel, but Dan's a good man, and thanks for the super chat. We appreciate it. And knowing Buster, he would probably have remembered that, Dan. So thanks for watching, and thanks for the super chat. I appreciate it. So again, we have a whole bunch of comments and questions. Mike says, thanks, Buster and Glenn. And yeah, we do thank him for coming on. I just want to run through these real quick. ER says, Glenn, great interview. And thank you, Buster, for joining the show. Great listen. I appreciate that. It's tough to have a bad interview with him. Like I said, whether you agree with all his baseball moves, that's irrelevant here. I mean, he's just a class guy. All right. I'm just reading some of these. Some you got to stay away from, and I'm not saying that they're bad. It's just you got to be careful. Devers is my favorite Giant because of that batting stance. I agree, just in case he's going to have one hell of a year, and I am with you. I think Devers is going to be a star this year. I really, really do, which is exciting. Yep, the trade's already won if Devers hits 30 home runs the next 3 or 4 years, but there's no MVP talent in him that could come out. Listen, I mean, he hit 30, 3 or 4 but that's, gosh, I think that's more than reasonable, don't you? He's still a young player. He's right in the middle of his career. That's why it's special to have him. And it was a trade that, it turns out it's a good trade for the Giants. But it's a trade that, probably had to be made if you really think about it. At the time, it sounded good, and it's even better now. Here's an interesting question, which I said we didn't get to ask Buster. But Buster, what has the experience of president of baseball operations taught you? Do you have a former executive that you have tried to emulate or trying to carve your own way? Knowing Buster, he's probably trying to carve his own way, but he's doing that by listening a lot to people who have been in the business a long time. That's what smart people do, and that's what successful people do. So anyways, I just want to run through these a little bit more. All right. Yeah, you guys are great. Just checking in. Here's an interesting one. Sign Kopech, please. That's Michael Kopech, the right-handed pitcher who's with the Dodgers. He's a free agent. I've actually thought about him earlier in the offseason. Very hard thrower. Had some injuries last year. I thought about him as a possibility for the Giants. And it still could be. He's still out there, which is a bit of a surprise because he's a pretty talented guy. We'll see. You never know. I mean, if things can happen. And here's another one about Kopech. Michael Kopech has obviously had a lot of injury struggles over the last few years, but I still think he would be a perfect fit for you guys. Yeah, you may be right. This is all good stuff. Mike says, what does Mike Krukow say? It took me 10 years to learn how to pitch in the major leagues. Yeah, that's why these talented youngsters that the Giants have, these young starters, it's hard, but you got to be patient. You got to be patient with Birdsong and Tidwell and Wisenhunt. And if your patience pays off, boy, then you got young pitchers. It's the greatest. It's the greatest thing you can have, right? Young pitchers. You don't have to worry about giving them these long contracts, and the Giants have a chance anyways to have a few of these guys. So, okay, you know what? I appreciate all the comments, and there's like almost 100 of them. So I cannot get to them all, but I hope you guys enjoyed our conversation with Buster today. And you know what? If you missed any of the show, it's on the YouTube channel. You know that. You can go back and watch the entire thing, along with all the videos that are out there and all my live shows, which is a lot of fun. They're there forever. So you can go back and watch them. Sometimes I go back and watch them just to see how the show looked. But as always, the viewers, throwing the questions out there, the comments, you guys are part of the show. And I try really hard to make you feel that way. I hope that you feel like you're part of the show, because you absolutely are. So that's it for this edition of the Glen Kuiper Show. Remember, we'll be back on Thursday, and another fun guest, Ed Montague. Eddie Montague, longtime Major League umpire. We are talking 30 years as a big league umpire. He grew up in the Bay Area, grew up in San Francisco, grew up a Giants fan. He's at all the Giants games. He still does some work with the umpires. He's great. And you want to talk about stories? This guy has stories upon stories. 45 minutes to an hour of our show, that's not going to be nearly enough. He'll give us a Bruce Bochy story. He'll give us a Dusty Baker story. And then he'll give us a Willie Mays story. So it's going to be fun. So Ed Montague will join me at 7 o'clock on Thursday night, right here on the Glen Kuiper Show. So we'll look forward to that as we close in on the 2026 season. And I said last night on the show, remember, there's Giants baseball on the radio Saturday and Sunday. KNBR, Dwayne Kuiper, John Miller will have the first two exhibition games from the Valley of the Sun. So you got Giants baseball to listen to coming up this weekend. So that'll be certainly worth looking forward to. So that's it for the show. I hope you enjoyed it. As you know, we got to check in with our sponsors one last time. The Carrick Real Estate Team, they've been helping families buy and sell homes across the Bay Area with a legacy of client-first service since 1978. You can contact Mike Carrick today for a free home sale or purchase consultation. Do so by calling Mike at 925-548-4132. Glen Kuiper Show is brought to you in part by Tilden Properties. By investing in California's multifamily real estate with Tilden Properties, you'll see quarterly dividends and equity buildup in the real estate market. Isn't that what you absolutely want? If you invest with Tilden Properties, that's exactly what will happen. They're Bay Area-based, family-owned, and they've been building investment wealth for their clients since 2008. So call Tilden Properties, 925-209-8558. We are also brought to you in part by Partners Capital, LLC. Whether you're dealing with professional athletes or families next door, Partners Capital takes care of it all. They deliver thoughtful planning, steady guidance, and a clear path forward financially. Partners Capital, your partner for a stronger financial future. Call them, 888-702-7743. Glen Kuiper Show also brought to you by Area Rug Cleaning Direct. It's a subsidiary of Gamble's Flooring. If your area rug needs professional cleaning or repair, Area Rug Cleaning Direct will pick up and return your area rug within 5 business days, looking brand new. They're family owned, and they're proudly serving the Bay Area for over 35 years. Call Area Rug Cleaning Direct at 925-933-9999 for all your area rug needs. Thanks to the sponsors. Thanks to the viewers. Thanks to all of you. I hope you enjoyed this afternoon show. Thanks to Buster Posey, our very special guest. We'll see you Thursday night with Ed Montague. Ed Montague right back here on the Glen Kuiper Show. See you then, everybody.